Hi everybody! Today we're going to be taking a look at all the pages I've changed or altered in some way. Maybe by adding bits in or collaging or painting out some bits to alter the appearance of a page. And full credit for the idea for this video goes to Colour and Collage with Ems, who's recently put out a similar video with all pages that she's altered, and it's an awesome video, so I'll leave a link down in the description for all you guys to go and have a look. Originally this video was just going to be pages that I'd used collage on, but because I do use collage quite a lot, mainly for flat patterns, for clothes or backgrounds or stuff like that, I figured it might be easier to show the pages that I'd actually gone ahead and altered quite a lot. Some more than others, I will admit that, some more than others, but I thought that might be quite fun. And even though I have narrowed down my scope a little bit there is quite a large pile of books here, so this might be split into two parts, this video. We'll have to see how we go. So to not waste any time, I will jump in straight away with the first page that I ever actually did change, and this is Colouring Heaven's Strangeling special, the very first one I ever bought while I was up on holiday with my mum. And this is the first page that I ever actually changed. This is by Jasmine Beckett Griffith. Hopefully that is showing up on the camera there. And this one I did with Zennicolor pencils. And I'm really not much of a Disney girl for colouring in Disney pictures, so I wasn't really inspired to be colouring this picture until I realised I could actually change it a bit and have a bit of fun. So with this one, I went ahead and I made my Snow White into a zombie. And I made Alice into a punk rocker. I did add in a few little bits here with the safety pins on her dress there. I gave her a nose ring going away over to her ear. I added in the makeup and everything else. But this is the first time I ever actually tried changing a colouring page. It's kind of where I realised that I actually could change a colouring page. And as this was one of my favourite pages and it had a little bit of a place in my heart being the first page that I ever actually did change, I went ahead and I coloured in the page in Jasmine Beckett Griffith's actual colouring book, the same page, kind of using the same kind of idea a few years later to see if I could get something better going on. So I thought to open this video I could show both of these side by side. So I'll just move this one over to the side so we can see both of these pages side by side. Here we go, if we can get both of these on the camera. That's the same picture, using the same kind of idea, coloured two different ways there. A little bit wonky, there we go, I'll just straighten up. Again, I went with keeping my Alice as a zombie, but I think, yeah, you can see there my technique has improved quite a bit since. This one I've used markers as a background and went ahead and used pencil shading on top. I think that was Arteza and Castle Arts, but yeah, I was so happy with the results of this one because this is one of my favourite pages, being one of the first ones I did go ahead and change. And after a suggestion I received online, instead of keeping Alice as this punk rocker here that I did in the first version, I made her into a ghost, again using markers with the pencil shading on top, and yeah, super happy with how that one's turned out. And process videos for both of these ladies here can be found on the channel if anybody's interested in that. So yeah, that was my first foray into changing a colouring page. And as I've got both of these magazines and books here together, there are two very similar that I've also changed. So I'll just move this book out of the way for a second. And the second one I wanted to show out of this magazine is this lady here. This is quite a lot later. This lady here that I actually did as part of a buddy colour. And this was an idea that came to me that maybe I could cut out the whole background of this picture, which I think was a field and a river, trees, all that kind of stuff. I thought I could maybe cut out the background. So I just went ahead with the craft knife and cut out the whole area of the background there. And I just replaced that with a page from a book, from an old book that I had left over from before the internet was a thing. I kept a few books as kind of references for drawing and painting. So this was a book from that stash, and I think that's worked out super well as the background for the picture. And this is something I do quite a lot more recently as well, because I really love the way this turns out. Plus it stops me having to colour in a background, as I'm not really much of a one for colouring backgrounds in pictures. And when this one was put into my finished pages video for the month that I coloured her in, I was asked to show how I'd actually done it, so I did that again on another Jasmine Beckett Griffith page from the colouring book. So I'll just move that to the side again. We'll have another side by side, because this is one I did using exactly the same techniques there. quite hard to get both of these on camera in the space that I've got, but there we go, they're both on camera together there. And this lady, this Molly Morgan, I did exactly the same kind of method as I used on this lady here. I just cut out the whole area of the background there, and I put in this kind of seascape page from a book that's just from another from another kind of travel guidebook, I think that one was. And I just popped that in as a bit of a background for our pirate there, and I think that works super well. And that one is a video on the channel as well, showing actually how I did that, because I was asked to show how I did it. And yeah, I'm really pleased with both of these ladies. I do love Jasmine Beckett Griffith, and I do love this effect of adding in the photo from a book as a background. Yeah, it's really something really fun to play with. So yep, there's both of those ladies. I'll just move those out of the way. And I'm going through all my Colouring Heaven pages first. That's the way I like to work things when I'm going through anything kind of colouring book collection related. So we're moving on to Steampunk Animal Special here. This is a variety of artists in this one. I want to say Steve Hutton. No, Sam Deacon. Sam Deacon is the picture that I actually card in this one. And this one I've changed to look like a blueprint, because this book is all about steampunk animals. And hopefully that's not glaring too much. We can actually see that picture there is a kind of a blueprint style drawing of a mechanical bunny there. And that's what it looked like to me, the mechanical bunny. So this is the page I actually ended up colouring in there. And this is how I coped with that one. And to change this one up a little bit, I wanted to really go for that blueprint kind of idea or design. So I scanned in the picture into the computer and I copied it onto this very light blue, really thin cardboard that is from a kid's craft pack I think I had at Easter time. And basically all I did was go around all of the lines with a white gel pen and that's pretty much it. I did go a little bit crazy adding in folds and creases and stuff. These are actually drawn in. The paper is not folded there. That's drawn in. I drew in these folds. I drew in this coffee ring, which is quite fun because I wanted it to look as if it had been in some sort of steampunk engineer's sort of pocket as he built this bunny rabbit. So I also splashed on some black ink here to look maybe like oil or something. And we ended up putting some fingerprints here. So it looks as if maybe the engineer's been holding the blueprint like this as he figures out how to make his bunny. And my other half actually made those thumbprints for me. He was quite a good sport about that, and he let me get ink all over his fingers for him. But yeah, I think that's a really good kind of effective idea and really simple to do. If you leave out all the extra fluff I put into the background, they're really simple to do. Just copy onto a piece of blue paper or card and go over all the lines with a white gel pen. And the pictures in this magazine, if anybody does have it, there's quite a lot of steampunk kind of blueprint pictures in there, so that's another idea for changing a colouring page. Next we're moving on to Colouring Heaven Fairytopia Special. This one is by Mystic Art Mirrors, or Christina Glorious Ink, I think she also goes by on Etsy. And this one isn't so much changing the picture or collaging over it or painting over it or anything like that. I just took a bit of influence from popular culture and I changed the fairy into a Na'vi alien from Avatar. And I didn't change it super much. I added in the stripes, I think. I added in these dots to make it look like the alien from the movie. I drew in this circle for a background and gave her a kind of bouquet style background there with the shades of green to make her look as if she was in the forest, because these Na'vi live in the forest in the movie Avatar. So yeah, that was quite a fun one to do. And mainly I used markers as a background there, just plain flat marker without any shading, and then I went on top with the pencils to add in all the shading there. So yeah, that was a really quite fun one to do, quite an easy change to make, because all I added in was the stripes and these little white dots. Really simple but effective, I'm thinking. I kept all these colours to more sort of natural leafy colours as well, with just the feathers as a kind of accent colour. And yeah, pretty happy with how that one turned out. And she is actually a video on the channel as well, showing how I went ahead and coloured her in. Not so much the changing, as I said, more the style of colouring it in and taking the influence. But yeah, another one I ended up pretty happy with, I think. And that one is by Mystic Art Mirrors from the Fairytopia Special Colouring Heaven. Next we're moving on to the Unicorn Special Colouring Heaven. There's a few artists in this one, and the one I've picked to colour is from Selena Fenech. My little unicorn in here, and this one was around Halloween time I was colouring in this guy. And this, yeah, it originally didn't start off as a zombie kind of unicorn, as I've made him there. He started off as just a normal fairy tale unicorn in his little fairy tale forest there in his pool. And I was feeling the Halloween spirit. I do love Halloween. So I decided to go ahead and make him into a zombie. So I changed a few of the line work here. I turned his face into the skull there. Added in a few little bones here and there, especially down his back with the ribs. I think it looks super cool. And yeah, I think that's worked really super well. I coloured his puddle as if he's standing in a puddle of mud, and he does have some red glitter on his horn there as well. So I'm not sure if I can bring up for a bit of a close-up, but yeah, these bits here I added in all these kind of bone bits, and adding the colour scheme, keeping it really subdued, bit of a Halloween orange and green colour scheme. I think he's worked out super well. That's one of the favourite pages I have actually coloured, that one. So that's another idea that you can use to change pictures and kind of spookify them up a little bit if you're not really into the cutesy stuff. So yeah, there's that one. I also have another one in here that I have changed, and this is another one taking in the pop culture references and changing a picture a little bit for a little bit of fun. And this is a unicorn that I've changed into Geralt of Rivia from the Witcher games and now the TV series. And of course the books. And this one I did around Christmas time, and he was just with markers and pencils, I think. I gave him a marker base. Yep, I gave him a bit of a marker base. I added in his clothes, the kind of clothes he wears in the game. Gave him I added in the swords, drew those in on the back and just coloured those in. Gave him the Witcher medallion, a scar on his face there, as Geralt does have the scar on his face. I added in these signs in the background as well. Those are from the computer game, so that ties in again to the kind of character that I had going on there. He was a really fun one to do, really quick and simple as well. Not many changes needed to be made. Most of it's just line work on top of the unicorn. So, yep, that's another one I went ahead and changed. This one is by White Stag, that one. The first one was by Selena Finnick, and those are both from the Colouring Heaven Unicorn special. Next, we're moving along to Colouring Heaven Fantasy Pets Special with art by Hannah Lynn and Anna Proteus. And the picture that I coloured was by Anna Proteus. And I really loved the creature in this image, but I wasn't too keen on the background because I'm not much of a one for colouring in the detailed backgrounds and getting finicky with all the little fiddly bits. So I decided to just concentrate on the creature for this one that I really liked. This is the one here, and this one I did try filming to make a video, but my phone was having none of it at the time, and the video didn't really work, but it would have been nice to actually show you guys how I did this one. But as I said, I wasn't really keen on colouring the background for this one, so all I did was draw a circle around the actual fox creature there. I think I drew around a saucer or a bowl or something like that, and I just do a circle around him, and all the rest of the background I blacked out with, it feels like black acrylic. It feels like I've blacked that out with a couple of coats of black acrylic there. Then for this background behind the fox here, once I'd actually let everything dry, let the background dry, I coloured the fox. I think it might have been with markers and pencils. Yep, there's a bit of a marker background there. Once I'd let all that dry, I cut out this circle. And then I collaged in a kind of galaxy themed paper in the background there, just stuck that in behind. So that I was cutting out basically all of the background and just colouring in the part that I really wanted to colour. Because sometimes like this, there's pictures that you don't really want to colour the whole picture, you just want to colour a specific part, and that's perfectly fine. I do that quite a lot. And when I do that, I like to just black out and play around with the background. I've done that quite a few times. Bring in the collage, have a little bit of a fun with it, and just actually colour the part that I really am interested in, I want to colour. And I think this one has worked out really super well. I do like the contrast between the orange and the kind of bluey purples here in the background with the galaxy, and I think that's worked out super well. So yep, that is another idea. You can just completely disregard the background and black it all out and go your own little way with the picture if there's something you really don't want to colour. And that one is by Anna Proteus there from Fantasy Pets Special Colouring Heaven. Next we're moving on to Dark Fantasy Special Colouring Heaven. This is by Enis Guerrero. And this one I did start basically as soon as I had the magazine. But there was a little bit of a problem with the printing of this magazine, and the paper towards the back of the magazine was a lot thinner and shinier and harder to colour on. So all I really did was a little bit of her dress. I can pop a scan or a screenshot up here to show you. There was just a tiny little bit coloured there. And the pencils weren't working super well on that paper. And the idea I had to go ahead and finish this picture, as I'm working this year on trying to get quite a few of my whips actually done. So I wanted to finish her off. And the idea I had, I'll go ahead and show you now, was to go in completely with collage. So this whole page is collaged. Every single thing on that page is collaged. The background was originally all this kind of patchwork, so I just went ahead and put together some pieces of collage paper or scrapbooking paper with patterns that kind of had the same sort of colours going on in them, that kind of vintage vibe going on there, and I drew in the kind of stitches to mark them all together there. These buttons I cut out of some wood grain kind of themed papers that I have. Added in some black line art, a little bit of shading to make those fit in with the rest of the picture. These flowers and this butterfly were from a greeting card that I had, and I ended up putting this butterfly in because I made a little mistake down there with the actual collage. Otherwise that butterfly wouldn't be there. This flower pattern here is washi tape. The black kind of lines here, those are washi tape as well. I added in for the lacing on her bodice. Her face and her hair I collaged in. I think that was from a fantasy art calendar that I've kept for a few years now, and I cut out a face from a lady from there, added in the hair and kind of rejigged it a little bit to be looking the same as what the line art was. So yeah, I was quite happy with that. It was quite a fun one, really quick as well. I added in this white outline with the white gel pen just to separate it from the background, and I think she's worked out really well. Just completely collaging a page, and I've done that a few times as well, just for a little bit of fun. So yeah, that's another idea that's really fun to do, and I think it's worked out really well there. That's from Colouring Heaven Dark Fantasy. Yeah, Dark Fantasy Special. That's by Enes Guerrero. Next is Colouring Heaven Fantasy Figures Special, and this is one that is a series of videos on the channel. I think I did this whole one on camera. I did all of it on camera as a little kind of colour along thing, and this one I adapted the picture to look like it was from the film Labyrinth with David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly. I can never say that. Jennifer Connelly. Yeah, and this is how I coloured this one in. I did add in a few bits of collage just with white paper, tracing out some shapes here onto the white paper, cutting those out and sticking those onto the top. This puffy sleeve for the ball dress wasn't there. I had to cut out that shape and stick that on. This wasn't here. The ball dress kind of skirt, I cut that out of white paper, coloured that in and stuck that on. Everything else I left pretty much as is, I think. I did add in a few little kind of filigree silver bits here on her crown, because in this scene in the movie, Sarah is wearing a kind of fancy, very delicate filigree kind of crown, so I added in all these little bits. I think I added in the ear as well there, because she did have an elfy kind of shaped ear, like I did for Jareth. I left his the same because he's the Goblin King, so yeah, that wouldn't really make that much difference. I added in a little kind of human ear there for Sarah, and the rest of it is just markers and pencils for that one. Yeah, marker base, pencil shading, a little bit of a bouquet kind of style background there, because this scene in the film is kind of dreamy and blurry, so yeah, I added in the bouquet background. And the text here I actually cut out from a sheet that I printed off from the internet, and I just cut those out and gave a little bit of a gold outline to them. That is the song that is playing during this scene in the movie, so I thought that would be quite fitting there. And that is one that I changed by Maud Lemoyne from Fantasy Figures Special. Next we're moving along to Colouring Heaven Alice in Wonderland Special by Eva Nikunin. This one was a work in progress for a while, so I can pop a picture up here of what the actual picture looked like when I first started it. I started it with pastel pencils, and I really wasn't liking the colour scheme that was going on there. I'm not really one for colouring lots of florals or repetitive patterns, so the roses in the background really weren't my jam at all. So I wanted to change that a little bit, and I went for a more gothic-y kind of influence with this one, which is also a video on the channel as well, this one. And this is how we've ended up. There we go. This is our White Queen, I think she's called. And there's quite a lot of collage in this one, mainly this background area here where I just found a piece of dark sort of floral colour which does have the roses on, again it's in keeping with it, and I cut out this kind of window inside here to have our White Queen kind of showing through. I also used collage for these fans. And I think that's worked out really well. There's a bit of washi tape around the outside there. But yeah, the main thing I did for this one is I just blanked out the background with this sheet of collage paper or scrapbooking paper with the black roses that I thought was pretty similar to what was there originally, but it did save me having to colour all of that in. So yeah, that is another idea. What you can do, you can stick the paper over the top of your background that you don't really want to be colouring. And again, an example of, there's one part of a picture that I want to colour, being the lady in the middle there. The rest I'm not particularly bothered about. So I get to play around with that and come up with solutions to not having to colour it in. And this is what I used this time. I just stuck over these roses, a bit of a gold edge there to give her a kind of portrait style. There's marker in the background to again go with that portrait style I was going for. And yeah, another kind of quick one, that one video on the channel showing how I did it. And yeah, again, really happy with the outcome there. That one is from Alice in Wonderland special by Eva Nikunin. Next we're moving along to Gods and Goddesses special, Colouring Heaven by Jash Lee. And this one I can actually show you what this picture looked like before I went ahead and worked on it, because I do have 2 copies of this magazine. So I can show you a image of what it looked like before I actually went ahead and changed it. And it was this guy here. We can see there he's got the wings going on, he's got his scythe, hopefully that's not glaring too much, you can actually see that guy there. But we have the clock face in the background, we have the scythe and we have the wings, and I did change this one quite a lot because I wanted him to look like a character from a book series that I really like, the Dragonlance Chronicles, kind of a fantasy series. I wanted him to look like a dark wizard from that series, so I went ahead and changed that one quite a lot. Show you the picture that we did actually end up with. And here we go. Yeah, that one is quite a change. I brought in quite a lot of acrylic paint on this one to be covering up the background. If you remember, this was a clock face in the background there. I went over that with gouache and acrylic paint to turn that into a red moon, because in the setting, the fantasy setting, there is 3 moons, white, red and black, and he follows the red moon during this stage of his kind of career, shall we say. So I painted in the moon over the clock face. I got rid of his beard somehow. I think I just coloured over that, to be honest with you. I coloured over that with the coloured pencils, the Castle Art pencils, because Rayson is clean shaven, so I got rid of the beard there. For the scythe, I painted over the most of it with the black acrylic paint here. This is blue acrylic paint pen here. So I painted over the scythe. And Rayson does have a staff, so I left this staff part of the scythe showing, hopefully looking as if it's glowing with that crystal there. And yeah, gave him the red robes and turned him into Rayson from the Dragonlance Chronicles. And yeah, that one was super fun. Quite a lot of changing happening with that one, and mainly with the acrylic and the gouache paints there, painting over what was in the background, changing it very slightly, and getting rid of that scythe and the wings. Again, yeah, really quite happy with how he's turned out. So there we go. That one was Kronos. He is now Raistlin from the Gods and Goddesses Colouring Heaven special by Jash Lee. We have another Jash Lee one now. This is a colourful adventure storybook special. My tags are getting all bent all over the place here, but yeah. This is the colourful adventure storybook special. This is one that I do actually want to finish, and I'm trying to add in a little bumblebee into every picture because my son kind of challenged me to do that, and I'm trying to make the main character from every picture to resemble myself with the purple hair, purple glasses. So every picture in this book is going to be changed very, very slightly. I'll show you how far as I've gotten. The first one is only changed very, very slightly. Yeah, that one there. The only things I've really changed is giving the lady the glasses, if we can see those, and I've added in a teeny tiny little bumblebee on the leaf there. If I zoom in on that one, maybe you'll be able to see, but that's the only changes I've made to that one, is the little bumblebee and the lady's glasses. I just thought I'd mention that, as I am technically changing every picture in this book. The rest of that is marker base with pencil shading. This next one I did change quite a bit. because as this lady is supposed to be resembling me, as I've said, I changed the pictures here that she's painting into something that I would probably do, because I do like my fantasy and kind of Dungeons and Dragons style stuff. So I've changed this into a picture with a ranger there and her dragon. I changed this, I think, into a kind of moonscape. I added in a little unicorn to this picture here. I added in the rain behind this photo frame here. Of course, the little bee there buzzing around. And for the background, I cut away the background and I've added in some wallpaper. You can see there I've added in the wallpaper collage in the background there. This stripy one is a wallpaper pattern, and this pink one to sort of look like plaster. Old plaster on the bottom there, and this line across the middle, that's washi tape. That one's changed a little bit more, I think. Of course, the glasses I added in. So yeah, that one's changed a little bit more. I was going in order, so this is the next one. Again, it changed very, very slightly. I gave her the glasses and the bee. Oh yeah, and I changed her outfit on this one. I completely forgot, because she was wearing trousers that I really couldn't get to work. I couldn't get them to work at all. So I ended up collaging in this skirt that I gave her, and just colouring the trousers in black to be black leggings, which I do like to wear quite a lot. So yeah, I just coloured those black for the leggings, and I added in a piece of collage paper there to be a skirt. Added in a little bit of line art there. Yep, glasses and the bee. Guess I didn't mention those. The rest is watercolour, I think I used on this one mainly. The boat is markers and pencil. This cityscape and the lady is markers and pencil, and then watercolour for the rest, with a lot of white gel pen for the water there. And then I stopped going in order, so we're moving quite a way to the back here. And this one is a lot more recent. Yeah, I'm getting a lot more confident, I think, and bolder in my colouring now, so I'm going for the bolder changes. And this one, yeah, I think I collaged in her vest top here from a piece of scrapbooking paper with this kind of orangey pattern there. Just added in the line art, a little bit of shading with, I think, marker. Yeah, I think I shaded that one with marker. For the background, I wanted to add in some lightning, because she is supposed to be in a lightning storm during this part of the story. So what I ended up doing is cutting out the sky and adding in this kind of lightning shot here. And that's mainly because I tried to draw in lightning and it was all going horribly wrong, really not working at all. And rather than just scrapping the page, I ended up cutting out the sky and finding some collage to add in the back there. There's probably an article about weather or something, some sort of a natural wonder book, I think that one was. And I added in that lightning storm, of course, a little bumblebee that I cut from a greetings card. And yeah, that is another kind of tip, that if you do feel like you've messed up on a background or a part of the picture, then collage is always an option. Don't give up straight away, that you can always collage in and cover bits that you don't really like. Of course, I added in the glasses as well, as I'm doing every picture in this book, and I think that's the last one I've actually gone ahead and coloured in that one. But yeah, there's quite a lot of changing going on in this one, sometimes very, very slightly, sometimes quite a lot. And it's been super fun so far, so that is one that I'm looking to finish at some point. That is Colouring Heaven Colourful Storybook Special by Jashley. Next is the Wildwood Witches Special. This is by Steve Hutton. And this witch was a bit of a work in progress for quite a while. Unfortunately, I didn't get a picture of her before I went ahead and finished her off, so I'll just show you now what we have ended up with. There we go. And this one, again, I wasn't really feeling the background there, because we had two trees, lots of branches and kind of foliage and stuff going on there, which really isn't my kind of thing to be colouring. Anyone who watches the channel will know that I don't really like colouring trees or florals or foliage or anything along those lines. So what I did for this one, I drew a circle around the lady, because I did want to colour in the lady. I wanted to keep the birds, like the night and day, two sides of her there. So I put in this circle with all the bits that I do want to colour inside there, and the rest of it I coloured in with a black Sharpie. Yeah, black Sharpie background there. I just coloured over it all with the black Sharpie. Just one or two layers, I'm not sure, could even be just the one layer, because this was a while ago. And then I sort of doodled this pattern onto a piece of paper and transferred it there to fill in a little bit of space with a few stick-on crystals. I did actually bring in collage for her outfit there as well, with these these kind of bits of her dress there. The sleeves, those are cut out of wrapping paper and stuck on. And there are some parts that are washi tape. These see-through parts of her sleeves here. I coloured her arms and then stuck the sleeve over the top. Yeah, it is kind of a silvery pattern, washi tape there. And we have the silver pen kind of in the background there for the pattern. There's a lot of glitter glue in the sky as well. And yeah, I think that's worked out super well. Again, that's another example of blacking out any backgrounds that you really don't want to do, and you can go ahead and doodle away in that empty space that you create for yourself, and you can get some quite good results going on there. Apologies for the neighbour's dog there, starting to bark away in the background, but that one is by Steve Hutton. And that one is from Wildwood, which is Special Colouring Heaven. Next, we're moving on to Colouring Heaven, a Chibi collection. This is by Josh Lee. I do love Josh Lee, and this one really is super cute. It says there, super cute. It is super cute. And I've changed quite a few in here. I think I've got them all marked in, so we'll just go ahead with the first one, see what the first one is. Oh, this one. This is the first one. And this one was, I think, supposed to be a ninja. She was originally a ninja, and for some reason she was reminding me of Gamora from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, so I went ahead and actually coloured her as Gamora from the Guardians of the Galaxy, giving her the green skin and stuff. I think this was actually supposed to be a stone pillar that she was perched on top of there, and I changed that into a sort of metallic pillar by putting in some silver kind of card in the background there, adding in these kind of panels sort of thing with line art, shading those a little bit, giving a few little white gel pen highlights. I blocked off this background here. I just drew in a frame and coloured all that in a sort of galaxy effect. I think I just coloured it with a marker. Oh, no, apparently I didn't. So how did I do that? It could have been black acrylic, I think, then. Yeah, feels like it could have been black acrylic. So I just blacked out that whole background there and then went on top of it with coloured pencils to add in these little kind of galaxies, which I'm not sure are showing up on the camera, but maybe. Yeah, there we go. There's a few little kind of galaxies and nebulas sort of showing up in the background there. And again, to make it look as if it was from the Guardian of the Galaxy film, I drew in this spaceship here, the Milano. Well, my sort of representation of it, probably not completely exact. Coloured that with markers and pencils, cut that out and stuck that on top. So yeah, that one was quite fun to change. I do love making changes to pictures to make them into something a little more personal, and yeah, that one was super fun to do. The next two are maybe a little bit more personal. Here we go, this is the next one I actually went ahead and changed, and this one is a samurai chibi, and at the time my tabletop roleplay group was playing Legends of Five Rings, which is a Japanese style, an ancient Japanese style roleplay game. And we all made our characters. This was my character. I changed this page to look like my character. First of all, I changed it. I gave her the lipstick to make it look as if she was a girl, to make it a bit more obvious that it was a girl going on there. And she's from a clan that's really big on horses. So she had a horse, and I ended up drawing a horse here onto white paper. That is actually drawn onto separate paper. I coloured him in and I stuck him down there just in the background. I'm pretty sure I added in this kind of emblem here for her clan as well. I added that in. I can't quite remember if I added in this kind of banner thing. I might have done. I might have added in this sort of banner thing that I've coloured here. Maybe that. I can't remember. I can't remember what this one looked like when I first had a go at it. But I do know that I did put this horse in. That's Damien, her horse. He ended up looking super cool. This one is more the adding on to the page that's already there. I technically didn't change the image itself super much, apart from putting the lipstick on there to make her look a little bit more feminine. And yeah, I added in most of what's in this corner, I think. If I'm remembering rightly, I added in most of these bits in the corner. But yeah, I do love the horse that we ended up with. Super cool. And the last one in this magazine is also one of my role play kind of characters, and I tweaked this one very, very slightly because my character here was a werewolf. So I went for the werewolf chibi to colour in for my character here. I changed the t-shirts because she's kind of she's in a rock band. In our game she's in a rock band, so I gave her this kind of skull on her t-shirt to bring that in slightly more into keeping with the game. And I added in this shape of night sky in the background here. I drew in a kind of a raggedy shape to go with the werewolf idea, and these kind of claw marks. These are supposed to be claw marks down the side here, and I added in the same night sky background that I actually put in the background. I added into the scratch marks down the side there, just again to emphasize the werewolf part of the character. And yeah, I think she's worked out super well. I do love her. She's my favourite character. So yeah, that one was super fun to be colouring in. The rest is just markers and pencils. We can see, yeah, see there, marker base. And this night sky background is with watercolour and black gouache, I think there. A little bit of black gouache, and could be white gouache or white gel pen to add in the few stars we have going on there. And yeah, altogether I love that one, mainly because she's my favourite character. But yeah, I also love Jashley as well, so yeah, it's all good. And that one is from Colouring Heaven Chibi collection. Next we're moving on to Colouring Heaven Collection Vintage Costume, and this one I was working through in order. And when I got to this page, I didn't really like it as much as the rest of them. It looked a bit strange to me because there was two people on the page rather than just one, as there is on most of the others. And the costumes were a little bit strange. They looked like maid uniforms to me, which looked a little bit odd. So in the end, I decided to play up on that maid costume idea, and I ended up turning these two from this picture into Jessie and James from Pokemon. If anybody watches Pokemon, I turn these two into Jessie and James because in the Pokemon series, the animated series, Jessie and James pop up every now and then in really kind of outlandish costumes. And yes, James does very often wear a dress, so it didn't really seem that odd, and it's really fitted into Jessie and James. So for these two, I added in the background, I drew a square around the background here, and I put some kind of spotlights or starburst idea in the background there, because when Jessie and James do appear in the Pokemon series, if anyone's watched it, there is kind of a starburst or spotlights going on like this in the background behind them. Obviously I added in these circles, just drew in circles with a circle stencil. And made those into Pokeballs, which worked out really well. And Jessie and James do work for Team Rocket, so I added in this R for Team Rocket onto James's apron there, which again really looks super cool, I think, with that red from the Pokeballs. And I couldn't leave them without their Pokemon, so I have Meowth here. I added him in behind James. I just drew that onto the actual Colouring Heaven paper. I drew in Meowth and Wobbuffet, and I've given them both the maid caps as well because they're keeping in with the disguise. And yeah, that was a really super fun idea. Because this picture wasn't one of my favourites in the book to start with, this really kind of spurred me on to colour it in and put in my own little changes to that one to change things up and make it a little bit more fun, and I think that's worked super well. Enough rambling about Jessie and James. This one is from the Vintage Costume Collection Colouring Heaven, and that's Jessie and James from Pokemon. This next one is the most recent that I've gone ahead and changed a picture. This one is a video on the channel. It was from a random generator challenge where I randomly generate a Colouring Heaven and a page and some art supplies and just go for it and see what I can make happen. So this one is a video on the channel. And this is what we've ended up with, is this one here. And this one, I didn't really change the picture itself super much. I coloured in the picture as it is, but the change I made was for the background. I did bring in some collage for Ariel's skirt, but this kind of thing I do quite a lot, just using pattern to fill in a blank space. Drawing in the line art myself to make it look as if it is part of a picture and just sticking that on top. That I do quite a lot. So if I'd done a video on collage, there would have been all pages just with a flat pattern stuck down like that, which I can do. If anybody wants to see all the pages that I have actually used collage on, there will be a lot more, but that is one of them. But the big change that I made in this one is for the background, and this is a page from a book that I've stuck on in the background there to take up the background. The bottom part of the page there is actually on the front here on the page, so we have some on the front and some behind to give a bit of depth to the picture and make the ladies look as if they are actually in the water because they're mermaids. So yeah, I really do love doing this now, taking a page from a book and adding it in as the background. It is a really fun technique to try. It's a little bit fiddly sometimes, especially when you're coming in quite close to the edge of the book, as we did here, which is one of the reasons I added the washi tape in to try and keep the book and the page kind of still stuck together without looking too odd. And yeah, really pleased with how that one's turned out. So if you are looking to be adding collage into your pictures, it is a good idea to find some old kind of travel books which have big pages of landscapes and seascapes. If I still have the book that I used for that one around, I can show you. I've just grabbed that book to show the kind of thing that, yeah, I tend to use a lot now in my collaging. This one is called The British Isles, A Symphony in Colour. I'm sure you guys in other countries as well will be able to find books like this in your thrift stores or secondhand stores. And this one is a kind of a travel guide. It has lots and lots of pictures of kind of landscapes and stuff. Stuff such as this, you could just cut that out and put that behind as a background. But anything like this, you could maybe, if I just get that into the scene, this is a random page. Anything like this, you could maybe cut out the space of a window in your books, which is an idea I picked up again from Colour and Collage with Ems. If there's a window behind your character, you can cut out the spaces of the window panes and stick something like this behind to look as if this is what they're seeing out of the window. But any kind of travel book like this, yeah, really good for adding things into your pages, especially the big scenes like this that I think would be really good to add in behind your images. Another kind of seascape there. So yeah, that's a good idea to be grabbing kind of travel books like that if you do see them. If you want to bring in a bit of a collage backgrounds, like this kind of idea here. So yeah, that one is from the Little Mermaid special, and that is by Fabiana Tre, or Tre, not sure how to pronounce that one. Next we're moving on to my actual colouring books. This is Colour My Sketchbook 2 by Bennett Klein. And this one kind of defeated me when I first started colouring it because the paper was not very good at all for pencils. The pencils were hardly gripping. The paper is very shiny. I think it might be Amazon paper, but it's not very good quality Amazon paper. So to get around that, what I did was bring in collage, and I pretty much collaged most of this one. I did end up colouring this girl's skin with the markers and the pencils. Yeah, the skin and her wings are markers, just with pencil shading. And the rest of the picture is all collage from a flower, kind of books and leaflets and magazines, lots of flowers and some little butterflies that I had in my craft stash. I think I got those from a charity shop, just in a craft bag. I tried to keep with the pink theme that I thought was going really well, and because these kind of frills here, which I'm not exactly sure what they were before I stuck them down, I'm afraid, but yeah, these frills that I added on the sides, they had the yellow one, so I brought in this yellow gem. And she did originally have a big headdress going on there. If I can find there are little kind of thumbnails of them in the front of the book here. Let's see if I can find her. I'll see if I can bring that up slightly closer and enlarge that. That is Nerd Fairy there. She had this really big headdress going on. I'll try and zoom in editing there so you can see she had this really big headdress going on, but the pencils were not working too well with that at all. So what I did was I just cut out a load of flowers, tried to keep with the pink kind of theme I had going on, cut these out from scrapbooking paper, leaflets, magazines, all that kind of stuff, and I just stuck them on. And I found that as I've been playing with collage more and more lately, I do like to add in a little bit of text into the collage, just cut out of magazines. And this was a headline from, could have been Cosmopolitan, I think, an old Cosmopolitan that I'd been given somewhere along the way. And I loved this headline, Life is a Mystery to be Unravelled. It kind of fitted in with this lady and the colours matched. So I thought, yeah, that will do. And I will stick that down. And again, I just drew around the outside with a gold Sharpie to give it a little bit of a background there. I think the lady's background I ended up doing with a glitter gel pen, because that was working okay on the page. So I did that with glitter gel pen, and there's some gold Sharpie for her glasses. And yeah, everything else is collage apart from her skin and the wings, which I just did with flat marker, I think, and then glitter glue for the outlines. So yeah, I'm going to have to get a little bit creative when I am colouring these pages. They're lovely pages, absolutely beautiful pages, but yeah, the paper leaves a lot to be desired in that one. And that is Colour My Sketchbook 2 by Bennett Klein. Next we're moving on to Zan von Zed. This is Ladies of Leisure, the first one, Ladies of Leisure 1. And this is another quite recent picture. That is also a video on the channel showing how I went ahead with this one. And this one is where we turned our lady here into Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games. And the lady herself is coloured with markers and pencils, pretty simple there. I added in a couple of bits with acrylic marker, which is this quiver on her back here and this bow to match in with the character of Katniss. And then for the background, I cut out the square here, or rectangle, because there was a village or a city kind of drawn there for us to colour, and yeah, I didn't really want to be colouring that, so I cut out the square of where the village was, and I put in this, I think it was a photo from a solar eclipse or something along those lines, an article about the sun in National Geographic, so I popped that in behind there. And these wings are from a wildlife book, a really old wildlife book, and the idea was to make the background there of the image look like the box art from the Hunger Games Mockingjay movies, where the Mockingjay logo is actually placed behind Katniss in such a way to look as if the wings are actually growing out of her back, and I really liked that, so I tried to kind of emulate that with the collage I had going on there. And I think it's worked pretty well. So yeah, nature books, they're another good one to be having in your kind of collage kind of pile, your collage stash. Nature books are really, really good. You can use parts of the animals like this to add in wings, or you can cut out the animals themselves and stick those into your picture. That's another good thing you could be doing with collage to add to your pictures. And yeah, National Geographic are pretty good as well. They have some cool stuff in there, like this picture of the eclipse that I think has worked really well. And yeah, that one is from Zan von Zed, and we've turned that lady into Katniss Everdeen. The next one is also Zan von Zed. This is Ladies of Leisure 2. And this one I also changed quite a lot. I changed this one a heck of a lot. And to change this one, I actually traced the picture using my light pad. I traced the picture onto some separate paper and made my changes on the separate paper because the line art was pretty simple. So I just made my alterations onto my tracing and coloured it in on some separate paper. And this lady I coloured in to look as if she was part of the Fallout kind of universe, from the Fallout games and now the TV show. I wanted her to look as if she'd just escaped from her vault, like Lucy in the TV show. So here we are, this is what we've ended up with. That's my coloured picture, and I'll show you the original images there. I have them both on the page. And what I did, I traced out this lady onto the paper there, and I wasn't really too fussed about this background. Again, trees, not really my thing to be colouring, but I liked the pose of the lady. And I wanted to pose where you could see her back. I wanted to pose to see the back of the lady because these vault jumpsuits from the Fallout universe, they have a number on the back showing which vault you're actually part of, which vault you've come out of. So I wanted to show the back, and this one was quite a good one for showing the back. So I could easily change her outfit into this kind of jumpsuit that the Vault Dwellers wear. I added in this Pip-Boy here, which people who live in the Vault in Fallout, they wear those on their wrist. It's like almost like a smartphone kind of thing, but it's this kind of machine, and you can use the buttons and look things up on it and stuff like that. Almost like a smartphone or a little computer thing on your wrist there. And I tried to make everything look really old and junked up because Fallout is a post-apocalyptical kind of universe, so I wanted everything to look really kind of used up and scruffy, for want of a better word, and I think that's worked really well. I added in this shape in the background because that's the shape of the doors of the vaults in Fallout. If anyone's not familiar, this is what the doors are shaped like, almost like a bank vault door. And it's shaped with these kind of cogwheel edges around the outside. So I added that into the background. I added this kind of rusty metal texture with alcohol markers and hand sanitizer gel. And then I ended up cutting the whole thing out of the paper that I'd drawn it on and sticking it onto this brown backing paper. And then I blacked out the edges and made that look a little bit rusty, dusty, messed up. Again, in fitting with the Fallout universe, I added in the black pastel around the edges there, smoothed that out, added in this white frame, just with a white gel pen. And yeah, we've made a heck of a difference from the original picture there to our finished one, and I was super happy with that one. And that one is also a video on the channel showing how I went ahead and done that. And this next one is a whole book that's kind of a whole project to me, which I've fallen behind on super much. I have done a few pages in it, but yeah, I have fallen behind really well. This one is Tangle Wood by Jessica Palmer, and this is one that I picked up from a charity shop, and it's been well loved, shall we say, by a child, I would imagine. Most of the pages were missing or scribbled on or stuff along those lines. And I've made it a little kind of project to go ahead and try and fix it all up, make it look good. I have fallen behind quite a way on it, but I've done a few pages. And the main one I want to show you was basically the worst page in the book. And I might be able to grab a screenshot of a flip through that I did of the original book and put that up here so you can see how it looked like before I actually started working on it. There was quite a lot of work that I needed to be doing there. Yeah, you can see it's been scribbled on and ripped. I think the page was ripped if I remember rightly. It's been a while. As I said, I've fallen behind with this project, but I'll show you with how we've ended up. There we go. This is how we've ended up. There was a rip in the page, I'm thinking. There was scribbling with felt pens on this bird here. You can still a little bit see a bit of the rip. Yeah, through the bird, if you can see that rip there, if we can get to show it up on camera. It's still visible there through the bird, but I have stuck it together, so hopefully it won't be falling apart again. The bird himself was scribbled on with felt pens, and I couldn't really erase or do anything with that. So I ended up going on top and colouring the bird with gouache paint. Making him look like a realistic pheasant there. For the background, I think those were coloured with pen as well, if I remember. I can't remember. So what I did for that anyway, to cover that up, I drew my own kind of freehand, sort of more swirly looking feathers in the background there, onto some separate paper, this kind of parchment coloured paper. Went over those with line art, shaded them a bit and stuck those on. And we did that. This is also all kind of a vintagey looking collage paper that I've used in the background there. I think mainly to put something in the background to cover up that rip and make sure the page didn't fall apart. I think that was the main plan with that. I added in these footprints here. I looked up what pheasant footprints actually look like, and that's what we ended up with. So yeah, the pheasant footprints I put in by myself. The butterflies are collaged in, and this is some text about pheasants that I got off the internet and printed out and dyed with coffee. I think I dyed that with coffee there. And this page wasn't as bad, so I just used some kind of vintage looking colours over on that side, with the black and white for this bird over here. The rest of the text that I printed out, again dyed with coffee. A few little collagey bits of paper and stuff. Yeah, these flowers mainly to stick the pages together there. And yeah, really, really pleased with how that one's turned out. But I have fallen behind super much on this project. I have got a few pages I'm working on in here. Shall we see? Is there any more that I can maybe show you? This one I'm trying to do as a collage by ripping up the coloured paper and sticking it onto the page. Not entirely sure how I'm going to cope with this butterfly. I'm actually cut a butterfly from another colouring book or use a sticker or something to stick over there. But the main plan is to cover up this masking tape that I'm using to hold the page together. And yeah, you can definitely see the rip in the page there. That was the worst page in the book, that one. This one, where are we? This one, yeah, this one I changed up because this one was falling out of the book for a start, so I had to stick on this paper to hold the pages together. And this was kind of half of a 2-page spread, which didn't make a lot of sense on its own. So I kind of drew in this tree to match with the tree that is on the other side, and I coloured that with a black pencil and a white gel pen. The bird is gouache paint to give him a kind of galaxy look and stand out on the page, being the blue colour amongst all this kind of sepia and stuff that's going on. So that's another page that I've done. I'm working on this one. This page again was falling out of the book. This page again was falling out of the book. So I think the main plan for this was to use the edges to stick that page on there. And then I'm going ahead and colouring this just with a black fine liner, keeping it pretty black and white, and seeing how we go with that. But all these flowers around the edges, those were collaged on from some kind of sort of 70s looking scrapbooking paper that I had, and I think that's working pretty well there. It's just a little bit tedious doing all this black and white, so I kind of put that away and got distracted by other things. But yeah, that's as far as I've got with making this book as good as new, which is my original plan for it. Yeah, the only other page that I've actually started is the one right at the front. But yeah, nothing really changed about that one. But the whole book itself is a project where I'm changing the pages, and I really need to crack on with that because that's falling behind. Next we're moving on to Millie Marotta's Animal Kingdom. And this one was actually a gift from my sister, so I do want to be working in it, but I'm not really a fan of these Zentangly kind of patterns that fill in all the areas in Millie Marotta's books. So how I'm working in this book is by bringing in collage. And one of these is very, very recent. Hopefully you've seen the video just this past weekend of how I actually went ahead with this one. And I collaged this one in using junk mail. If I can find it. All right, there we go. This one I collaged using junk mail, just using little sections of pattern that I found in a pile of junk mail that was downstairs ready to be recycled. I traced a template so I knew what pattern the deer actually was, and then I cut out lots of different patterns from different bits of junk mail, leaflets, and this is an empty cardboard tissue box. These golden red bits here, they're from a Chinese restaurant menu that came through the door. This is from a leaflet from Marks and Spencer's, I think. These were from a kind of a parish leaflet that we get through the door showing what was going on. I think that was during the autumn fairs and fates and stuff like that was going on. There was a few patterns I grabbed out of that. And this was Charlie Bears, I think, these stars that work quite well. And these antlers, because the original antlers that were drawn there had so much trouble trying to get those antlers cut out of this gold. It was an advertisement for some company that wanted to buy your old gold. I'm sure you've all had those through the door. Sell us your gold and get some cash kind of thing. And there was a big gold photo frame around the outside of the leaflet. And I wanted to get the antlers cut out of that gold, but I couldn't get it to work. The frame wasn't quite thick enough to have the gold antlers going on. So what I did to get around that was cut out the edges of the frame. These are embellishments from the edges of a gold kind of photo frame looking thing. Make my own antlers. And then I cut out the background behind the deer so I could get rid of the line art for the actual antlers. I got rid of that and stuck in some brown paper packaging behind there. Just cut out this whole piece in the middle, which worked because the deer was like holding on each side of the page. The deer was holding the whole thing together, and now I've stuck on this brown paper. Yeah, that's all working. I put the antlers on. And again, I've added in my text. I do love putting in the text when I use collage. And if I can get that shining, I've added in some stitches to make it look as if he's sewn together from all these different pieces of patchwork and fabric. So yeah, I was pleased with how he turned out, and that was my most recent one. He will be a very short video on the channel. It came out the weekend, very short kind of process video, mainly to show you the idea that you can use up your junk mail and cut out all the little patterns to make a patchwork kind of effect. So yeah, he should be a video on the channel. And the second one in here is using the same kind of process, but this time I used scrapbooking paper, and I cut out the background and I added in this kind of clock scrapbooking paper because it goes with the white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, which is what I was aiming for with this picture, which is why I gave him this waistcoat from pattern paper and stuck on these beads for a pearl button kind of effect. But exactly the same. I drew a template around the edges of the rabbit because he was made out of flowers, the same as the deer, kind of the same as the donkey there, made out of the flowers. And I wanted to really simplify that, so I just cut out all the bits of paper, stuck them all together, made a rabbit, cut out the background, this kind of square here is the background, and put the collaging paper in behind there. And yeah, I do lose what's on the back there. I have lost this page on the back, but it was a whole wallpaper page with these butterflies, which is exactly the same the other side. So yeah, to me, that's not so big a loss. I can live with that, I think. And yeah, that is the only problem when you cut out the background like this. If you don't do it in a single-sided book, you do lose what you have on the background. But as long as you're not too bothered about that, then yeah, this is a super fun technique, especially in these very kind of Zentangly kind of books like this, if you don't want to colour in all the patterns. Of course, you can just take one colour and colour in the whole area of pattern, all the one colour. It's fine. However you want to colour it, that's fine. But the way that I've decided to cope with it is by collaging in what pieces that I want to use. And yeah, it's also worked quite well on that bunny there, which is quite successful. And that is Millie Marotta's Animal Kingdom. Oh yeah, I had some fun in this one. Okay, this is Grimm Fairy Tales adult colouring book. It's got a big list of artists. Those are all the artists. I'm not entirely sure who drew the ones that I did work on, but the two that I worked on in this book were wallpaper pages. And yeah, some of us, the wallpaper page is the bane of our existence. And for those who don't know what that is, it's a page that's just basically full of one pattern, as if it was a sheet of wallpaper. Some people love them, some people hate them. I'm one that doesn't like them too much because I'm not one for repetitive patterns or anything like that. So I decided to play with a couple of wallpaper pages from this book, because this book does have quite a few of them, unfortunately. The pictures in it are really nice, but yeah, there's a lot of wallpaper pages. So I'll show you the two that I've worked on in here, and this one is my favourite. The first one I love her to bits. I did a bit of collage on this one, and originally the page was full of this card suit symbol pattern. You can see on the back I've coloured it in. Yeah, it was full of that pattern, just the whole page, and yeah, I wasn't too keen on colouring that too much. So what I did was I did this middle bit with acrylic markers and gold Sharpie as an outline, and then I collaged in this lady to be the Red Queen from Alice in Wonderland, particularly the Tim Burton film. Yeah, because when I was suggesting this idea to my other half, saying, what do you think of this idea? He said, oh, you mean like the Tim Burton film? And I was like, oh, well, I didn't, but I do now. So I found this picture of a queen from a book about kings and queens, this old-fashioned picture here. She could have been Mary Queen of Scots. I can't quite remember, but she was from an old book about kings and queens. And I stuck her down. And this one was from an old, it was a colouring book I got from the pound shop, which is kind of like the dollar store in the US. Really, really cheap. It was just £1 for a colouring book. And I found this picture of the lady with this. Originally, her hair was a big, round, kind of, sort of meant to be an afro kind of style, I think. But I cut it off into the style, the same shape as the Red Queen from the Tim Burton movie. I put that on. And her lips were originally normal. I'm not sure if you can see where I've whited out her original lips, but her lips were just normal lips. And I whited it out with the white gel pen and drew in the lips for the Red Queen from the film, which I think has been super, super effective. I've added in some heart stickers. These are heart stickers, again, from the pound shop, and they matched in with my Queen of Hearts kind of theme, so I've stuck those on. Again, I've gone with my text, off with her head, which fits with the Red Queen. Yeah, and I've splashed in some gold. Could be gold gouache paint, I think, in the background there, just for another little bit of texture in the background. We can get that. Yeah, you can see that sparkling. And yeah, I love how she's turned out. I'm absolutely in love with her. She looks awesome. And the second one in here is another wallpaper page. And this time I decided, oh, it's a wallpaper page. I'm going to make it look like wallpaper. So what I did for this one is I sectioned off a piece in the middle, and all this furniture and stuff is cut out from a page from a magazine, just a normal women's magazine, not a glossy mag, just a normal women's magazine. I cut out the bedroom scene, stuck that on after I'd coloured the wallpaper with markers, I think I used. Yeah, I used markers to colour the wallpaper. Then I cut out this bedroom scene and stuck it all on there. The rest of the page I kind of blacked out with silver marker. I think that was a Sharpie. I added in this kind of rose gold coloured washi tape as a bit of a frame around the picture and right around the edge of the page, and altogether I think that's worked quite well. That one is a video on the channel, and it's a good idea. You can maybe use these wallpaper pages where you have just a pattern in the background there. It's a little bit boring on its own. You can bring in some furniture and make yourself a little room scene going on, which is quite a good way to use up the page, I think. And plus it means you don't have to colour it in. You just need to colour in this little bit here, which just with markers doesn't take too long at all. And yeah, I think that's pretty effective in the end. And that one is from Grim Fairy Tales, an adult colouring book. Okay, next one is A Dark Beauty by Crook, and this is quite a recent colouring as well. This is one that was a work in progress for a while, so I can pop up here a little picture of what it looked like. And again, the paper in this one is not that great to be actually colouring on. And I tried that much of the picture. What you can see on the screen there, that's as much as I coloured in before giving up on the paper, because it really wasn't working. So because in my head I'd basically written off this picture as like, no, that's not working, I'm going to forget about it. I came back to it and I thought, well, I've basically written it off, so whatever I do to this is not going to make it any worse. So I felt really free to play with it and collage and do whatever I wanted with it, which is also a good tip if you've got a page that you have given up on you think it's never going to work, you're not happy with how it's going, don't completely put it on the back burner and forget about it. Play with it and see what you can make happen, because yeah, whatever you do, it's not going to be any worse. So yeah, go for it and try anything that you want to try. And what I ended up with this one is another one I'm really pleased with. This lady here, I was really pleased with. There is a lot of collage there, with her crown mainly, and for the feathers on her wings, and I brought in some paper for this background here for her dress. We can see there the rest. Her hair I stuck with the markers and toughed that out and got that coloured with the markers. The background there for her dress is a scrapbook page that I thought fitted in well with the colour scheme. The flowers on her headdress there, those are also from some scrapbooking paper, some kind of watercolour looking flowers that I cut out and stuck on to cover up the crown that I wasn't really too keen on. The butterflies I think are stickers. They might be stickers. They're either stickers or they're cut out from some scrapbooking paper. I can't quite remember, but I did collage those on. These flowers here. And yeah, her dress I ended up using collage. But yeah, this one isn't changed, I suppose, super much. I've added things on rather than actually changing it. But the idea with this one is that if you do have a page that you've basically written off, you're definitely sure that you're never going to be able to make it work, then play with it. Just try things out and see what you can make happen. Then maybe you can go ahead and use those techniques again if you're happy with what happens. And if you're not happy with what happens, then it doesn't really matter, because you didn't think the page was going to work anyway, so you're not too invested in it. So yeah, that's why this one worked, I think, because I did feel really free to go ahead and really play with it. So that is one that I did in Dark Beauty by Crook. Next we have The Way Home by Morgan O'Brien. And this is a book I do want to finish, and I've been playing with the pictures in this book because they're nice, super simple, really easy pictures. So the couple I want to show you in here are the two that I think I have changed the most. I'm going to start with this one here. And this one originally was just Grogu here hugging the kind of cat creature, which is called a loth cat or a loaf cat, according to my son. But the first thing I saw when I looked at it was the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, with this kind of toothy grin he's got going on here. So that's the way I wanted to go with it. And I wanted to make this one look really dreamy and kind of fantasy, I suppose. Give it that Alice in Wonderland vibe. So I think basically I coloured this with markers and Crayola pencils. Markers and Crayola pencils, I think, on top. A lot of white gel pen for sparkles, a lot of glitter glue. Yeah, a lot of glitter glue. But the main point from this one is these pictures here were actually cut out from another colouring book. And this colouring book isn't one I would normally colour myself. It came in a job lot with a colouring book that I did want from eBay. So I've been keeping it kind of on the shelf to see what I can do with it. And these pictures were part of a page that was full of little kind of snacky cups of tea, cakes, muffins, donuts, that kind of thing. So I cut them out of that book and I coloured them in and stuck them on here to be like the drink and the cake from Alice in Wonderland. These tags I got from a charity shop at some point, little kind of price tags for if you're selling on a market or something, you want to put a price tag on your wares, then these kind of price tags would work for that. And I used them to be the eat me and the drink me kind of signs from Alice in Wonderland. I think that's worked in quite well. I drew in these mushrooms, I think, to again go with that fantasy kind of Alice in Wonderland thing. And these cakes and the stars were again from this old colouring book here, the one that I don't really intend to colour in itself. I just coloured in these little bits and stuck them on as kind of an explosion there in the background. A little bit of fun. And these butterflies are stickers that I thought went with the colour scheme I was going for. But yeah, the main point of showing that one is that you can use colouring books that you get really cheaply or that you don't think you'd want to colour in. You can cut little bits out of them and add on to other pictures, because everything around the outside of the frame here was actually cut out and added on. And I think it's really worked quite well to give that vibe that I was after, more so than if I just left the picture itself and coloured it in the kind of dreamy style. I think that's really added to it. So yeah, that was the reason that I showed that one. And the other one that I've changed a little bit in here is this one. And for this one, I wanted more of the jungle-y kind of theme to be coming through. And normally I don't I'm not much of a one for colouring trees or plants or foliage or things like that, but this is super fun. It was really easy, these really simple, fun little plants here. So what I did for this one, once I coloured the actual picture, and I coloured that in with Xenicolor pencils, I wanted to colour more of those plants because they were super fun, so I drew in some more along the bottom here. So this piece along the bottom, all this here I drew in myself, just with black fine liner, with pencil first, and then I went over with black fine liner, rubbed out the pencil lines, coloured that in with the same Xenicolor pencils, the same kind of colour combinations I was using here, and that was again super fun. I also drew in the stars around the outside there. So yeah, for showing this one, if there is a blank space around the edge of your picture, you can draw in your own little bits of plants and stuff. And if you're not too confident with drawing, you could actually trace them either from the actual picture in the middle or from another colouring book. If you're not happy with cutting it out from another colouring book, you could even, from a gardening book or something, find some plants that match the colour scheme you have going on and stick those as a frame around the edge. Yeah, there's lots you can kind of play with, and especially if the page just has the little picture in the middle like that, then you can, feel free to play around with the edges and see what you can make happen there. So that's why I'm showing that one, and especially in these little books like Matchstick Mouse and stuff like that by Morgan O'Brien, when there is a simple little picture in the middle and big spaces around the outside. Yeah, it's a good place to maybe experiment with things like this and bring in the collage or try drawing your own little plants and stuff. So that one is from The Way Home, a Galactic Colouring Book by Morgan O'Brien. Next we have BBC Doctor Who Travels in Time colouring book, and the first one I'm going to show you from here is a work in progress. I'm still in the process of working on this one. It's been put away for a while and I haven't gotten back to it, but it's been quite fun so far. And for this one I am changing Doctor Who and his companions into the Harry Potter crew. There we go, that's as far as I've gotten so far. I think this lady, her name is Autumn or something, but I've turned her into Hermione. The Doctor himself there, the Matt Smith kind of Doctor, I've turned into Ron Weasley, and that one is a video on the channel, turning the Doctor into Ron Weasley. This lady I'm turning into Luna Lovegood. And this gentleman here is going to be Harry Potter, with the background painted in the bottom, or painted on a separate piece of paper and cut out and stuck on. I'm going to do the silhouette of Hogwarts there, some sort of picture of Hogwarts. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that. For this Dalek here, I'm going to draw a picture of Dobby, or find one from somewhere, print one out. I'm not entirely sure, but Dobby is going to be there to cover up the Dalek. And I think, that's going to work super well when it is actually done. I have used a bit of collage. This waistcoat here is collage, as Ron is supposed to be wearing his dress robes here. Glitter glue, alcohol markers, I think. Yeah, a lot of alcohol marker. I did black out the background, and we can see there what the picture originally looked like. There's a teeny tiny little one. There was kind of a mechanical pattern around the outside there, so I've just blacked all that out and worked on the characters in the middle to turn them into Harry Potter. I really need to get back to that one because I think that's going to look good when it's finished. It's working okay so far, I think. I think Hermione's jumper there I'm going to do with acrylic or gouache paint. Now I have the acrylic markers. That's another great option for covering over areas of a picture that you don't really want to colour in. I'm going to try and change that into a Hogwarts school jumper there, and hopefully that will work. But yeah, that's another one I'm attempting to change. The next one in the book was actually started when I bought the book because it was secondhand. The next one was actually started, so I can pop a picture up here of what it looked like when I first got the book, so you can see what I was working with there. And I think that was done with water-based markers. Unfortunately, the paper was working well enough with me to add water to the markers and kind of blend them out a little bit. So I wanted to work with that. And then I went ahead and changed the background for that one. So that's what it looked like when I first had the book. And this is what we ended up with. And there we go. So you can see there, I went ahead with adding the water to the kind of clothes, which were originally coloured with water-based markers, and got a nice texture. All my little blobby effects are going on there. And I added in some red kind of glow, some sort of ambient glow in there, because during this episode there's a red alert going on in the submarine. Long story short, there's a red alert in the submarine, and we're looking in through the portal because this is what the publicity shot for the episode looked like when I looked it up online. So I added in what is basically in the publicity shot. Again, I drew a circle to go with that kind of portile sort of look, and focused on colouring in there, brought in the red colours for the background. And around the edge here I painted with gouache paint and acrylic, I think. I might have done this red shading around the edge there, if that's showing up. I might have done that red shading with some pencils once everything else had been done. I added in these shapes here. 6 sides, that's a hexagon, right? I added those shapes in with a stencil, made it look as if the portrait is kind of bolted on there. A little bit of pencil shading, white gel pen, and I went for the whole red lighting thing because the Doctor had this really bright pink sort of jacket. I shaded that a little bit and made it look as if it was in the red light, which is why it was so brightly pink. Hopefully that's worked, and yeah, it was a fun one to do, that one. And that one is from Doctor Who Travels in Time colouring book. We're nearly there, guys. Hang on in. We're on the last few books now. This next one is Tolkien's World colouring book. I'm not sure who the artist is. I think there might be various artists in this one. Yeah. Mauro Mazzara and Andrea Piparo. And the one that I've changed in this one is the very last one. And there we go. This is this is Sam Gamgee and his family there. And I wanted to make it look as if it was part of a family kind of scrapbook. I tried to make this picture look as if it was kind of a black and white photo there that they took and stuck down on the scrapbooking page. And this was for a challenge where you're supposed to colour a picture with the theme of comfort. And I took comfort to mean family and home. So this is what I went for, to do this kind of scrapbooking looking page. And I think basically how I did this one, I cut out the sheet of scrapbooking paper with just this square cut out of it, where I wanted the Polaroid to be, a little bit bigger than the square in the middle because we need this frame, this white frame. And I stuck down the blue paper, then I cut out this white frame just from some white drawing paper and stuck that down on top there to give me this area in the middle here that I could colour. I'm not quite sure if I stuck the frame down first and then painted the picture, or painted the picture and then stuck the frame down. I can't remember, it was a while ago, 2000 that one was. But yeah, that was the idea of sticking this frame around to give that sort of Polaroid idea going on. So that was a pretty quick one to do because I think I ended up covering most of what was in the background here. I think it was the rest of the front room, kind of hobbit hole setting, and lots of furniture and stuff in the background, but I ended up covering most of that. So that made the picture pretty quick to colour, and I think it looks pretty fun. I do like this kind of Polaroid effect. I think I might use that again at some point. I do quite like that. And that one is from Tolkien's World. Our next one is from Gods and Goddesses, fantasy art adult colouring book by Chintaka Herath, I think is how you say that. And this one was a challenge on the artist's Facebook group to take one of his pictures and turn it into a Christmas kind of scene. And this is the one that I picked. This is from Gods and Goddesses. Here we go. This is what we ended up with. And yeah, this one originally was the lady with the wings in a circle in the middle of the page. I've added in lots of extra background and stuff there. I did change her robe. I think I drew in this fur collar and the fur edges to her sleeves. I might have painted those over with a white acrylic or gouache or something along those lines to give her the white kind of furry Christmas robe sort of look going on. I drew a circle around her head there and filled that in with a gold Sharpie to give a sort of halo. For the poinsettia crown, I traced off the shape of her head to make sure that I was drawing the right kind of shape. And then I drew the poinsettia crown on a piece of drawing paper, coloured that in with, I think, a marker and pencil, and just stuck that on top of her head there. I also added in some silver snowflake stickers. Originally she was just throwing down a handful of coins, which I coloured silver. I added in the snowflakes to make it look as if she's like sprinkling Christmas cheer or something along those lines, even sprinkling snow. There's a few little stick-on crystals as well. Might see those when I bring it up for a close-up in a minute. And the background, I drew in this rectangle. I painted the sky with a watercolour to give a sort of Christmas snowy sky effect. Added in these glowy stars. could also be snowflakes, but they were originally meant to be stars, could be taken as snowflakes. And I drew in this kind of scene at the bottom here to look like a kind of snowy Christmas village scene with a little church there, as if it was on a Christmas card. I thought that might work, and I was quite pleased with how that turned out. If I can bring it up for a little bit of a close-up there, we can see those snowflakes and the stickers, crystals glitter in there. Yeah, so that one was one of the first few that I actually did, I think, changing a page. Can we see a date on that one? Yeah, again 2020, so a few years ago, that one. Next we're going on to Jasmine Beckett Griffith Halloween colouring book. And this was one that I did try to film for you guys, but again, my phone wasn't having any of it, so I couldn't actually film the transformation of this page for you guys to see, but it did work really well, I'm thinking. And this is the one here. The Pumpkin King's Night Out, and yeah, I went at this one with the acrylic paint and pretty much completely changed it, I think, from the original, but I'm super happy with how it turned out, and I'm really sorry that I couldn't film it for you guys because it was super fun. I ended up basically painting out the whole background with this grey and gouache paint, I think that is. Adding in some kind of spooky fog kind of effect here, and I drew in these kind of Tim Burton style creepy trees up the edges there, which again work quite well. And originally this was Pumpkin King, and he had a pumpkin head, so I just painted over all that with the white gouache paint, a little bit of grey for the shading, and I turned him into Jack Skeleton. Rather than being a pumpkin head, he had Jack Skeleton. And the outfits, yeah, I basically whited out most of this, I think, to try and give Jack's kind of traditional sort of outfit, his suit that he wears, and the bat collar that he has. Yeah, that was super fun. Again, lots and lots of gouache and acrylic paint, painting on top of just the guidelines, using the page as guidelines more than anything else on this one. The lady I turned into Sally, adding in the kind of stitch marks she has going on, and kind of collaging in lots of different pieces of scrapbooking paper there to make her dress, and putting in the stitch marks. For the doggy, for Zero there, I drew him on a separate piece of paper and just cut him out and stuck him on after I'd coloured him in there, gave him his little pumpkin nose. I can't remember if these bats were there originally. I think they might have been there originally, the bats, but everything else I've pretty much changed. I think I ended up changing her eyes as well to give him these kind of, yeah, the Tim Burton style eyes there I had to change. And yeah, I think that looks a lot better now as Jack and Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas. And again, it was a fun one to do. I'm super sad that I couldn't actually film that one for you guys because my camera was having none of it at the time. And I think that's worked out super well. Just lots and lots of gouache and acrylic on that one. I think all I left the same was Sally's hair. That was just markers with pencil shading. Yeah, pretty much Sally's hair. And I coloured her skin in blue. But the hair is about all I didn't change on that one. I took that one as guidelines rather than rules, and did my own thing completely on that one. This next one is from Shadowscapes colouring book by Stephanie Law, and this one was a work in progress for quite a while. I'll pop a picture up here of what it looked like, and I'd put this one to the side because I thought I'd completely ruin that background. It was back in the days when I first started trying to make coloured pencils look like watercolour, which is something I love to do now, but this is back when I first started. I didn't really know what I was doing, and that background really didn't look right to me. These splashes were going off in the wrong directions, and it was really not hitting right, I don't think. So I really didn't like that background, and I just closed the book, put it away, and thought, nope, I'm not going back to that. But I did end up going back to it, and I made a video on how I actually fixed this picture. So I'll show you how I did that now. As I said, it's a video on the channel. Here we go, this is our lady. And what I did was I cut out some butterfly wings from another colouring book, which is all about butterflies. And in that book, there's a line art drawing here of a butterfly. And on the other page, there's like a Victorian sort of illustration of the same butterfly, so you can use the same colours. And what I did, I cut these wings from the butterfly on the other page. and collage them on, which is another idea of things you can do. I am actively looking out for books with pictures of butterflies in them now, so I can use the wings in my colouring pages because I think it works super well. The next one will see that as well. I have done that quite a few times, I think, but this is the first time that I really tried it, and I thought these coloured fitted in well with the colours I'd already been using on my lady. So yeah, I cut out these wings and kind of slipped them in behind. I put a kind of a slit in the page there, slip these wings in behind. There is a video showing the technique, and I think that's worked super well. It covered up this splash in the background that I really wasn't happy with, and now I really like this picture. I did add in a couple of butterfly stickers there as well, teeny tiny butterflies. The rest of these were already there, but I added in a couple of stickers there, and I think they matched in quite well with the colours. I added in these circles. That's not much of a change, but I did add in these circles as well in the background, a little bit of splashing of gold ink, and some stick-on crystals for the flowers in the grass, and a few on her dress there. But the main change for this one is the wings. So yeah, I'm quite happy with how she's turned out, and happy I went back to it and tried to actually fix that page. We can get those stickers glittering. Those little butterflies are glittery stickers, but yeah, there we go. A little bit of a close-up on that one. Really pleased with how she turned out. Really happy to get that page finished. Second to last here, penultimate picture that I've pulled out is from Nene Thomas, the Fairy colouring book. And this one I went all out with the collage on, because originally I wasn't too sure of this picture in the book. It didn't really fit into the book, to be honest with you, mainly because it's a horse and the rest of the pictures in this book are fairies. And yeah, it looked a bit strange to me, but I thought, well, I'll try doing a bit of collage on it. It seems to help when it's a page I'm not too invested in. I don't really mind if it turns out or not, but I think it did turn out quite well, this one. Here we go. This is what we ended up with here, and yeah, there is a lot of collage on this one. The foal itself was sitting on this mushroom, and these flowers and these toadstools, these bits here, were original. I kept all those. These leaves are stuck on here. These leaves are stuck on here, and these here. I added in that extra foliage. The butterfly wings, again, I gone for the butterfly wings, give the foal these butterfly wings and stuck those on. I think there were originally a couple of butterflies here, or maybe one here and one somewhere else, but I stuck in a couple of butterflies there that I thought matched in quite nicely. And then I cut out all of the background, as you've seen me do now a couple of times. I cut out all of the background and just replaced that with some galaxy themed paper. This is galaxy themed paper from the pound shop, actually. It was a really nice book of paper, but yeah, that's worked really well. I put on some glitter, and yeah, and these leaves here were cut from some leaflets I found in the supermarket while I was shopping. There was some leaflets of I think they were advertising home insurance or something, and they had these pot plants on them. So I grabbed those leaflets and I've used the leaves of the pot plants. Another kind of tip, I suppose, if you see any leaflets with some nice pictures on them, when you're out and about, just pick up some of those leaflets and bring them home. Because yeah, these are from a leaflet for home insurance, and they work super well on this picture. And yeah, all those colours matching quite nicely. With I tried to keep the wings of the horse and the wings of this butterfly something similar, which I think has worked really well. And this one was super fun, considering I wasn't too keen on the picture to be starting with. I didn't think it was a picture that I would be colouring in, but I did, and yeah, super happy with it. So yeah. The rest of him I did, I think, markers and pencil shading, my usual kind of thing there for the rest of the picture. And yep, it worked super well, I think. It was super fun. And quite a big change on that one. But the next picture is the last one. So this one is from Wildflower Folk by Christine Karen. And this one I didn't change super much, but I did bring in some influence from one of my favourite book series, and I kind of coloured the picture accordingly. I did adjust it a very tiny bit, I think, to fit in slightly better. But this guy is influenced by the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett, and I ended up colouring the wizard in this book as Rincewind. And here's a video on the channel as well, how I kind of adapted that to be Rincewind. And as I said, I didn't change him super much. The only thing I added in is this lettering here. I added in wizard on this banner along the bottom. Originally that wasn't there. I'll bring that up so you can see what I've actually done. Yeah, I added in this lettering here, the wizard kind of lettering, because in the book Rincewind, he has wizard written on his hat. But I couldn't really figure a way to fit wizard onto the hat, so I put it onto that banner at the bottom, and that's basically, yeah, that's the only change that I made there. Very, very slight, but it does make a difference in making this look like the character, I think. And yeah, that's how I coloured him, with the red robes, gold stars in his hat. I think those were already drawn, but yeah, Rinceman does have stars and moons and stuff on his hat, so it looked really cool. I did add in the background though. I drew in this background, just a rectangle, added a sky with my watercolours. This one is a video on the channel showing how I did all that. I think I coloured him with Amazon Basics pencils. In the end, he's with Amazon Basics pencils, and then I brought in the watercolour. So that's something else I do a lot, is I bring in, I draw in a square and just give things a frame. And I think having that little bit of a different colour, the blue in the background there, helps the red pop. I think gives a little bit of a contrast there, so I do like that. Plus, it's a kind of a mystical sort of night sky sort of thing, goes with the wizard theme, and the owl actually. Yeah, I didn't realise that, but the night sky does go with the owl, and it all works super well, all comes together. So that is the last one that I've got to show you today. There's probably a few more that I could have shown you, with little bits of collage coming in to change things very, very slightly, but these are the ones I've pulled out, and I think the video has run on long enough by now. We've gone on quite a while. Hopefully I've showed you quite a few different ideas there. That might be a little bit of inspiration for you guys, because I really do recommend playing about with collage and trying things out. And if you check out Colour and Collage with Em's channel, that is really, really inspiring. That's what inspired me to start playing with collage a little bit more in the first place. And I have recently started talking with a few other people on Instagram that also like to do this kind of thing with their colouring pages and bring in collage, change pictures a little bit. And a lot of them have playlists of pages that they've changed in their colouring books that maybe show a few other ways to change your colouring pages you guys might be interested in. So I'll try and link those playlists down below as well. Hopefully that'll give you guys some ideas, some confidence to start playing around with your colouring pages, bringing in collage, changing pages, colouring them like characters you know and love from TV, books, movies, things like that. It is super fun. I do recommend it. Hopefully you've enjoyed this look back at the pages I've gone through and changed a little bit in my colouring books. If you have enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Take care everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in future videos. Bye!